And welcome everybody to weekly tech training with Broker Bob here at KW Metro. So glad to see people's cameras on, so I'm not talking into the dark abyss. If you're here because maybe you got my email sent out earlier, we're going to talk about workflows and what I do to help me save myself a lot of time every week. And without further ado, let's get right into it. First off, let's explain what a workflow is. So I'm going to share my screen. And guess where I got the explanation about what a workflow is? I asked Ellie. I said, "Hey, Ellie, I'm teaching a class and I want to talk about workflows. Can you, in a few sentences, explain to the class what a workflow is?" And here it is. It's a simple, repeatable series of steps that turns a task into a consistent, predictable process. Well, that's still kind of high level right there. But really, instead of figuring out how to do something from scratch every time, a workflow lays out the exact sequence, what happens first, what comes next, and what the final result will be. So think of it like a recipe or a checklist. The more you can automate and standardize the steps, the less time you spend on busy work and the more time you have for your clients. So in our world, that might look like a CMA that builds itself, a social media post. And if you guys have been watching my social media, everything I've been putting out there is built within BrokerBot. And a follow-up email that goes out the moment a lead comes in. But I'll show you guys a real life example a day about a follow-up email that broker Bob sent out to an agent that was asking a question that I could have spent a half hour replying to this agent because they needed specific information about a property that was sitting on the market. So I plugged everything into BrokerBot, and I'll walk you guys through that of exactly what it was. But it helped guide that agent to get that property price right for the seller because it was sitting on the market. Well, it wasn't really sitting on the market. They were asking about pricing with a, if you can believe it, they had an impatient seller. Anybody on this call ever have an impatient seller that wanted the house to sell the first day? Or am I the only one? Oh, me and Matt. Matt's one too. But think about it that way. It's like, and if any of you have been on the broker bot training calls with the company itself, I was on one last week and Jeremiah re-emphasized exactly what the intent behind a workflow is and what the intent behind AI is. So a lot of people are thinking, well, AI is going to take my job. Is it really going to take my job? No. And that's not the intention of it. But the intention is to help you eliminate the repetitive tasks that we get bogged down with in real estate. There was a list years ago, and I don't have access, I don't have it right now, but there was every task that a real estate agent had to do, and there was like 186 tasks. But there was only five they needed to focus on, and that was lead generating and spending time with clients was a few of them and stuff like that. That's the important part. But you have all of a sudden you're in real estate business, you're a marketing person, you got to learn contracts, you got to be a home stager, you got to learn how to declutter, you got to do all that stuff that just takes a lot of time. And then you got to put CMAs together, and you got to communicate with clients, and you got to do marketing. It's a lot of stuff to do, but AI has met what he said was AI is really there to help be a resource for you so you can get your time back. And by getting your time back, you're going to be able to do what's really important. And that is for leadership, it's us spending time with people that are important to us in our brokerage. That means you guys, the agents, being able to help you guys build your businesses. And that's why I'm doing this. That's why I'm heavily invested in being I call myself the CTO, Chief Technology Officer. I'm not really, but I'm like, you know what? I'll give myself that title because my job is to make sure you guys are leveraging your time so you can do what you do best, and that is go out and spend time with people. Because that's really where you're going to benefit in your real estate business by spending more time with your buyers and sellers, because then they're going to get the value of you because you have a lot more free time rather than being bogged down by paperwork and admin work and all that stuff that goes into play. So that's really why I really want to emphasize and why I have set up on the main screen of BrokerBot are workflows that I've already put together. And so if Ellie will cooperate, there you go. There you go, Ellie. I just want to go through and highlight some of the workflows that I've put together to help you guys with your time. We won't go through each of them today, but I'll highlight exactly why you should come in here. At least if you haven't used it, test some of these out. And I just did this one yesterday right here. So if you're brand new on this, the first workflow right here in this box right here is learn how to leverage Ellie. That'll take you, if you're brand new with us and you're brand new in the company, that's going to teach you what Ellie is, how to get use out of it, and what's the best way to use it, etc. So that's kind of like the ABCs of working with Ellie. And then the next step is what I've done is I've kind of separated everything out in a workflow, like what takes agents a lot of time? Well, CMA. I did this yesterday, and this was the response that I got from an agent that was asking me about her property, and it's in an area in the it's not even in San Diego, it's in north of Temecula. Well, I don't know that market. So how can I tell if it's even priced right? So I just plugged in the address with the direct link from Redfin. I said, "Hey, I need a quick CMA on this." I didn't use the best CMA ever because that's a little bit more longer version. It's a series of 5 or 6 steps in the best CMA ever that you've got to input in some information so it really, really can drill down. But if you just want a quick CMA, just plug in the address and say, "Can you give me a quick CMA?" And it'll be the abbreviated version. And I use that to help with that agent that she's relatively newer in the business, but she's had a few listings. Um, Being able to help guide that seller to one, making them a little bit more patient, but also what is the days on market in that existing market, and so she can help manage their expectations. But the best CMA ever will take you through 5 steps, and it's going to require some input. So it might be that you have toured the property. Maybe you got some pictures of it. Maybe you have some input on some knowledge about it. So once you do that workflow, you can add more stuff into feeding information to Ellie so that um, when it's doing the comparative market analysis, it will make sure that it's adjusting certain things. Like if you know that it's like in a neighborhood that has some homes next to it that aren't in the best condition or whatever you can think about that property that you know, that will help with the CMA and the pricing. Also in the adjustments too. In the past we had to go through and manually do our adjustments on a CMA to kind of counteract what our competition was. Now, BrokerBot does it really, really good, really, really quick. Doesn't mean it's perfect. Now, I'll go through and look at the CMA and read through it, and I'll point some stuff out, but I'll go back in and give it more information. I'm like, no, it was rebuilt in 2007, but they did this, they did this, they did this. So, it's information in. The more you get in, the more information you'll get out there to be a little more quality. Contract review, if you're a brand new agent and you're not really adept to the contracts, or maybe if you're a seasoned agent and you're not adept to the contracts, I see you waving, Deborah. I see you waving. I would go through, and if you want to run your contracts through, download them in a PDF after you've built them out to make sure, do I have all my boxes checked? Did I input it correctly? Did I miss a box? I would run all your contracts through before you send them over to your principal. Again, my broker guidance for contracts, when you're writing up a listing agreement or a purchase agreement, before you send them out for digital signatures, what you should be doing is once you've made sure that after you've run them through Ellie and you know that everything's good, download them in a PDF and then write a summary email of what's in those contracts so you can send that summary email to the principal, meaning the buyer or the seller, highlighting what's in the contract document so they know, and then attach a PDF so they can read through it first. Because the last thing you want to do is just send over a DocuSign on documents they haven't read through. And if you can do a summary email, And again, Ellie can do that for you. Say, please draft a summary email of all these documents that I want to send to the seller. By the way, here is their email address. Save it in my sent folder so I can, and I'll go through it and adjust it or modify as necessary. And that just makes you look stellar with that seller or even that buyer. The estimated buyer and seller net sheets, here it is on a Saturday night. You need a net sheet. And typically, where did you get it? You got it from escrow, right? Well, now you can use this workflow to get yourself a seller or buyer net sheet. Now you have to input information. You're going to have to, I would recommend going to the tax assessor record and downloading the tax assessor record and then uploading that into Ellie and say, I need a seller net sheet based upon this price with X% of buyer broker compensation, etc. If there's HOAs, it's going to ask if there's an HOA. What are the HOA payments each month? Are there Melrose? It's going to ask you all those questions that you would need to give to the escrow person anyway. So now you can have Ellie make up, and of course, it will come with a disclaimer that all the net sheets are estimated. They're not 100% accurate. So it already has that disclaimer put on there. One of the things I really like the workflow is the inspection report analyzer. So you got an escrow, your buyer got the inspection, you got the report. Now your duty as the agent is to sit down with that buyer and go through that report and highlight some of the stuff that would be important to speak to that buyer, especially if it's something that could be significant about that property that you'd want to talk to them and address to them about maybe having a secondary inspection. So you can upload the inspection report analyzer and it will go through it and it will give you suggestions and recommendations to speak to the buyer. It'll draft you an email that you can send directly to the buyer after you, of course, review it before you send it out. But it gives you a summary of the inspection report and it makes it look like you're the professional and you're helping guide that buyer through that inspection report to make sure that they're inspecting the property properly. And if there's anything they need to do to make sure maybe they need to do a secondary inspection, you're having that conversation. That inspection report analyzer is probably the one risk management tool that I like the best as your broker because 99% of our claims come from a buyer not doing enough inspection and they come back and say, well, your agent never told me that. They never told me I should have done a plot line inspection or a foundation inspection or a roof inspection or any other inspection. So that's probably one of the best risk management workflows on there to help you from being sued later after close of escrow. By the way, 95% of all escrows are usually from the buyers suing the sellers on the buy side. It's usually never the listing agent, the seller suing us. It's rarely on that, but it does happen. But it's mostly buy side. So get used to that. And if you have an old inspection report from a previous escrow, I say upload it and say, here's an old escrow I had with an older report. Can you go through this and analyze this and make sure that I guided this buyer the right way during the inspection process? And then we addressed this, I believe, a couple of weeks ago, the weekly seller update. You got a listing and you need to provide that seller with an update. Because what's the number one thing a seller says about their agent? What's their number one complaint? Anybody know about a listing agent from the seller?
I don't
Maybe
hear
we
from
take,
you often enough.
they don't hear from you. Or they don't even hear from you. I never hear from my agent. I never hear from my agent. And let's say you take a listing, you know it's a little bit overpriced, but it's the seller that picks the price. You guided them, you gave them the options. Do they want to be aggressive? Do they want to be at the market or do they want to be above the market? And they chose. By the way, you never pick the selling price. You always let the seller pick it. You try and guide them. And, you know, pricing a home is different than how we price a home and how we price a home is different is a marketing technique. Sorry. Pricing a home to take to the market is more of a marketing technique than a determination of value. You can never, never, ever underprice a house. You can overprice a house, but you can never underprice because if you underprice and the market knows it, that's when you get people to look at it and say, hey, that's a good price. Let's go look at it. But if you overprice it and it sits on the market, that's where it loses value day after day. But what takes time, if you got a listing sitting on the market, is to do a weekly seller update. And the great thing with this workflow is this will automate it for you. You can get your weekly seller report made up for you to go to that seller every Monday. Now, it won't send it automatically. You can say, put it in my sent file folder, but it looks at all the comps. It looks at what came on the market. So what's their new competition? It looks at what went off the market, what went into pending, and looks at what sold. And then it starts helping that seller understand exactly where their home is on the market in relationship to the rest of the homes for sale in that area. So it's a really good tool that will save yourself time. You don't even need to go through and pull all that information in the past. What did you have to do? You had to go through the MLS and look and basically had yourself on a drip for that listing. And then you had to pull all that numbers together and then give it to your seller. BrokerBot does it really slick. So if you got a live listing right now, go do that weekly seller update. Even if you don't send the email that will be generated, you can at least see what it does. And then maybe you can take some of the stuff that it spits out and then use that to speak to your seller. Because the reason why you want to communicate with that seller week after week is because you want to make sure that if you need to do a price adjustment to reflect current market conditions, because it's that time, then the conversation's a lot easier with that seller because they've heard from you every week. They know what's going on. And the way the email that is drafted that I've seen, it's actually doing the heavy lifting for you in that email to start addressing that stuff with the seller in that email. So you're already addressing, hey, we've been 3 weeks on the market. And when we talked about the first 21 days being the most important time on the market, we're now approaching that time. And by the way, you're going to input how many showings you had or how many open houses you had, any feedback from other agents or feedback from agents that came to Caravan. You input that into the weekly seller update and it crafts that and it puts that into your email. The next section, I call that section Save Time, Ask Ellie. That's the save time thing. The other thing is marketing and social media is the next section. So I've been using this a lot. If you've seen my social media that I've been putting out there, I'm going after the property owners or landlords in the state of California that are tired of being landlords because they can't raise their rent and they got all these new rules that are there. So, but I broke this up into four. You can do one that says build a four-post social media. The first one is for an open house. Might need to change that so it's a little bit more clear on that. But if you have an open house coming up on Friday, it'll draft you the four-post social media campaign that you can just copy and paste and put into your digital platforms like Facebook and Instagram and all that. And then the 8-week social media campaign is a little bit more advanced. Now, here's the caveat with that one, and Matt will agree with me. AI likes to hallucinate and not do its job 100%. And I've caught it doing that this week. It created an 8-week social media campaign, but it didn't complete it. And so then I had to go back and redo it. So then I got it right. But you have to go through and verify the work that it's putting out. But so here'd be an example for that 8-week social media campaign. Let's say you want to now target market. I'll give you an example. Um, let's say you want to target market a certain area in San Diego. You want to own a geographic area. Let's say it's San Carlos, because that's the area you want to farm. So now you want to create a digital media campaign specifically targeting that area. And you can create that 8-week social media campaign where it'll give you the posts, it'll give you the graphics that you can just cut and paste. So in other words, all the pictures. And all you got to do is set up your way of doing all that on a weekly basis. What I do is I take that 8-week social media campaign output that it gave me, I put it into my Google Drive, and set up a folder and I have it's labeled 8 week social media campaign. I go in, I have a Google Doc set up with all the written stuff that I want to copy and paste. And then within that same folder, I have all the graphics inserted. So then once I want to go and do my post, and I do my post twice a week, all I got to do is then go in and copy and paste what they wrote for me for Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. I actually do it on Blue Sky. I do it on Threads. I do it on Twitter, even though Twitter isn't going to, um, people aren't going to see it on Twitter, but it helps with the algorithm. So if you want to be named by AI, you need to be on Twitter just to put that content out there because it'll pick it up. It'll pick up that AI will pick it up on Twitter, unfortunately. I don't like Twitter, but it is what it is. Image generation, I don't even use that. I was having trouble with it today. So if you're using it to modify an image or virtually stage, I'm not finding use for that. I still think there's better workflows for that or AI tools for that. Marketing package. Oh, marketing package. Create a compelling marketing package for a new listing. I just did this today and it was great. It's fantastic what it put together. So if you have a new listing that you've got coming up and you want to get your pre-listing packet and listing packet put together, now you're going to have to put in it's going to ask you for your DRE number and any pictures of yourself and office address, all that kind of stuff. But once you build it for you, it won't keep asking you it. It'll eventually just plug and play. And then coaching. So coaching, I like that section. If you this is more if you're trying to figure out what your unique value proposition is. In other words, you're kind of new in the business and you want to figure out, well, how do I convince people to work with me? Well, it all goes down with what your value proposition is. So that will help you create that. Your real estate coach, it'll help you create a 90-day action plan if you're kind of stuck in your real estate business and you need help. I'm like, hey, I need a 90-day action plan, and here's what I want to do. It'll talk to it like it's a coach. Now, it won't replace your coach, but it will help you with ideas to create that 90-day action plan and just kind of give you your basically day by day activity you need to do. And then practice scripts. If you're going on a listing presentation, you want to practice your listing presentation or buyer consultation, you can do it within that section now too. And then the last section, I do want to, on this one, I want to emphasize. So I coach an agent in the office, and I've talked about him before, and he is doing, his focus is mid-century modern. So he loves mid-century modern furniture, design, architecture, and that's a style of house that he focuses on. And so what he's done is he wants to go through and have AI recommend him for a mid-century modern expertise real estate agent in San Diego County. So he went through and I did all this one is you have to do this in sequence. The get recommended by AI. So you've got to go from top left to right, and then the next level from left to right, and then the very last one. So it's kind of in a sequence. So the first one is it does a digital footprint audit. It shows you what you have out there on the web. So if you got your Google business page, your Facebook business page, your Instagram, your Twitter, your Blue Sky, your Threads, it's going to go through and show you what you have out there and what you're lacking. And so what he did, he started this way. He just went in and did the footprint audit, and then whatever Ellie recommended he do, he went and did it. And then the Google business profile. You've got to have a Google business profile. People are finding you online, or if they come across you, they're going to stalk you online before they even meet with you. And unfortunately, in this digital age, that's how it goes now. People are looking at, well, who is this agent before I even meet with them? I want to see if they even, what kind of business they do. So it'll go through your Google business profile and it'll say you need to do this, this, this. So it'll give you everything you need to correct on it. And then create a bio that AI can, is the next step that AI can recommend you. is what that one is. So create the bio. So in other words, if you're looking to be mid-century modern, what this agent Greg did was he went through and said, now create a bio that AI will recommend me when people type in the word mid-century modern real estate agent in San Diego. And then he took what it created and put it on all of his digital platforms. So his Facebook, Insta, LinkedIn, all that. That's the same bio he used for all of the bios on all those digital assets. And then this one, right, the next one right here is discover the questions buyers and sellers are actively asking online. So if you want to draft and create a digital media campaign, wouldn't it be nice to know what buyers and sellers are asking online for the type of market you want to hit? So again, let's go back to Greg's example, mid-century modern. He went and asked the question, what are the questions buyers and sellers who are focused on mid-century modern architecture and buying a mid-century modern home or selling in San Diego asking online? And then once it gets that information, then he knows how to target market the digital media campaign that he puts together. So he basically, within the digital media campaign, let's say the buyers and sellers like, who are the most notable architects for mid-century modern in San Diego? Great, there's 15 of them. Okay. So if that's the question they're asking, then in his digital media campaign, he's saying, week one, I want to profile all of the architects in San Diego County that did mid-century modern architecture and give a basic profile about that architect and where you can find those homes in San Diego. Or maybe they asked, where are most of the mid-century modern homes in San Diego? Well, a lot of them are about by San Diego State. And then there's a section off of above PB in La Jolla where there's a good group of homes up there. So people are asking, well, where are the most mid-century modern homes available in San Diego? So then he targets the digital media campaign to highlight those areas. So it's speaking to those buyers. And so when a buyer or seller is asking AI, and they're already asking AI these questions, it will recommend Greg as that agent. And because of what he's been doing, since he's been doing this, it's been about 2 months, he had 4 solid listing leads, and he's actively working 2 of them. Unfortunately, he lost 2 of them. But at least he got the listing lead, right? So then he got recommended as a mid-century modern home specialist in San Diego. And then the next one is create content that AI wants to recommend you. And then the next one is reverse engineer what AI already recommends and analyze what it's recommending. Again, sequence of steps, go through these first step, first box, next box, next box, and it will help you with getting recommended by AI if you do them in order. So again, you've got to do them in order, and then you have to do what it's telling you to recommend you to fix, and then go to the next step. And then the next one is generate complete 90-day action plan using AI. So then it'll put the whole plan together for you. So that's the workflows that I've self-created. Matt, is there any workflows that you've put together in your work that you find are helpful in your day-to-day process? Matt's my go-to tech person because he came from the tech industry, so I pick on him a lot.
I have some. I haven't used BrokerBot for them. I actually have a different automation suite that helps
Hmm.
me for back-end automation. But a lot of it has to do with just drafting emails for key time, at certain stages of a listing or an escrow. It just drafts it, puts it in my draft box,
Hmm.
pre-populated with key information that are variables for that particular transaction, and then we review it and ship it out as need be. So it's helpful to do that, for example.
Good. Anything else you can think of that saved you time? I know what I did. Oh, I did a listing packet. Now, it wasn't done within BrokerBot. I use Claude and I pay for the advanced version of Claude. And the listing packet, all I did was upload a former listing packet and all the I did the CMA within BrokerBot. That was important. But then within the listing packet, I talked about how I would market that property because it was a very unique property. And I said, and it basically put the marketing plan within the listing packet. So it was seller specific. Whereas in the past, we used to just do a generic listing packet with Keller Williams and it's generic. No, sellers today want to see what you got to figure out is who is the ultimate buyer for that property. And then how do I target market that property and let that seller know how I'm going to target market that property? Because every buyer, every listing has a unique buyer that would be for that place. And you can plug that in to AI and it'll give it. What I want you guys to understand, you can use outside platforms. I do, but I don't put client private data on an open platform. BrokerBot is closed. It's a closed generative system, so your data is protected. There are lawsuits already happening where people are uploading contract documents, bank statements, stuff like that into open platforms. And we talk about this on our broker statewide call with all the top brokers. And we think this will be the next wave of lawsuits because agents are using some AI platforms willy-nilly, and you don't want to have client private data out there on an open system. So highly recommend you use the closed network that we have with BrokerBot because it is safe and secure on that. So if you're doing contract review, definitely do it within BrokerBot because it's got people's private contact information on there as well too. All right, I spoke long enough. Does anybody have any questions?
So something I imagine you might want to show folks on here is how you can tell BrokerBot to do some of these things on a recurring basis or a workflow that can happen on your behalf at some cadence, if they haven't heard about that yet.
So how to create the workflow?
That and tell it every Monday, do this for me.
Oh, that one, yeah. So when we talk, what he's talking about is creating the workflow with with the seller workflow. Basically, what I've done is I've said every Monday I want you to generate this for this seller, leave it in my inbox, so it automatically is in there, and then all you got to do is go through it, approve it, or make changes, and then send it. So you can do that with any workflow you have. Think about something that you do need to do once a week, maybe daily. You need to be reminded to lead generate. You can actually have it email you to go ahead. Okay, Deborah, make your 10 contacts this morning. Reach out to your former your sphere of influence and make sure you make 10 contacts today. Think of anything you need to be reminded of. It will do that for you within whatever action you want to take. And it's endless. You can go in and ask BrokerBot or Ellie, um, this is my issue. Can you help me solve it? And it will actually help you solve it. And we'll create the workflow for you, or you can tell it, please create me the workflow for this. And then you go through and make it better over time as well too. So anything that's a repetitive task. Um, Let me share with you the, no, that's not the one. Where is it? This one right here. This was what the agent called me about. It's only been on the market 5 days, but these sellers are really impatient, and she was asking for ideas. And I said, do a quick CMA for this address. So it put it together. It went out and got comparable sales, and then gave me a bottom line. And then it says it wasn't finding the live listing, so I had to go out and find it, even though it was there. So I just copy and pasted the Redfin listing. And then so it dug deeper into the property. So it went through that more and more. And then what I then asked it to do was go find this email and draft an email for me to reply to Morgan as her broker, giving her my advice. Given the days on the market in that area, it is still very fresh. I'd work on the seller's patient, but also And my typing was horrible. And I should have just spoke into it, but I didn't. But you might consider using BrokerBot, Ellie, to do some virtual staging to make the listing look better. The pictures do not really say, wow, I want to live in that house. The virtual staging might help have a potential buyer see it differently. So that's what I was recommending. She was asking for advice. I'm like, well, you got to work on your seller's patience, but I think the pictures you have in there, it was the seller's furnishings, but it could have used a little staging. So I said, recommend that maybe you do some virtual staging photos to put them into the MLS, just follow the MLS rules. And so it drafted me the email to send to my agent that would have taken me 15 minutes to draft this email. So think about anything you do in a daily activity. Now it's got to be connected to your KW email if you want this to do this. And you're sending it from your KW. Or if you want to send it from another account, you can still have it connect to your KW email, but then cut and paste it into your other whatever account you're using. So that's what I did yesterday. That saved me a lot of time and gave her the recommendation. And it looked like I spent 25 minutes drafting this email for her. One thing I really like is that I use this all the time. So I got an attorney referral from my friend up in Northern California for my mom, and I wanted to put this into my database. So I did that. So I just took a picture of the screenshot of the business card she sent me, and I said, please add this to my command contacts. And it does that. It did it within seconds. I didn't have to manually input a contact. So if you got a contact, and you got this set up, that's the number one issue why agents have a hard time with their database is because it takes the time to input it. You got contacts coming from your open houses, you can just copy the list and email it into BrokerBot and say, please add this to my command contacts and add these tags. You want to tag each contact with either open house or the property address as a tag as well too.
So, Robert,
Yes.
when we talked about that, I have like my Christmas card list, for example, um, and a spreadsheet. Um, how will I do that? Do I copy that spreadsheet and upload it into BrokerBot and ask it to put it into my command? Is that what you're saying I should do? Or is
Yep.
there a more effective way to do it?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
As long as it's able to read it and understand it, I
Yeah.
would go through and create your tags first.
Yeah.
So if you want to tag this Christmas list as your holiday list, then create that tag first, and then when you're uploading it, it'll upload it and tag it with open holiday list
How do I create the tag first?
within command.
Oh, within command. Okay.
Do you know how to do that?
Yeah.
Okay. You create the tag, go into command and create the tag
Uh-huh.
so that you have it in your tag groupings.
Got it.
I would
Everybody should be tagged.
Yeah.
I
Think
might
about,
recommend that you
yeah,
do like 2 or 3 people at the first shot, because if you dump
Instead of the
80
whole list.
people and it reads it wrong, you have like 1, 2, 3, 4 Main Street as your first contact. You don't want that. So just test it out and then do a scale.
Good.
so here's where it ends up. So within your command, go away, where is it? Okay. So in command, once the contact comes in, it'll come in as a lead. So see where it says leads never contacted?
Yeah.
And these are the leads that are imported. So now if I want to go through and I need to go through and sift and sort some of these, but if I want to go through each individual lead and maybe add another contact or put some notes in there, let's say you had a contact from an open house and you had a good conversation with them. Now you want to, let's say Andrew Bates, I met him in an open house. So now he's imported, right? So now that it came in as a lead, I can see him. I can go in and edit. And then if I want to add more tags, I can add more tags to him. Maybe I want to put the property address as a tag, 1234 Main Street or wherever you met him. Because what you should be doing with these open house leads is categorizing them so that let's say you do an open house on week last week. And now that open house you met 10 people and you categorize them with a tag, and that house you met them at now went into escrow. Well, wouldn't that be a good touch to send a quick message to that everybody that you met at that open house saying, hey, we met at 123 Main Street last Saturday. I wanted to let you know that that house is now in escrow. Oh, by the way, if you're still looking, there are many more houses for sale in the area. So it's a way for them to say, oh, Deborah kind of remembers me. She knows where she met me. That's different than the three other agents that I saw at the open house. They didn't even contact me.
And what was your tag on that one?
Well,
Just
wherever you
open
met
house?
them,
Say it again, where you met them. Okay,
wherever you met them.
okay.
And it's a way to categorize for a quick little text message. People get so bogged down. Well, what do I do with my contacts? Who do I contact? If you're much more methodical about and organized about the people you meet, then you can send a message that would be important to them because they know that you met them at this one open house. And what you just do is you go in and back to my contacts. So I'm going to clear all my filters and I'm going to go through all the tags and I'm going to look for everybody that is labeled um, bold because I imported contacts that I met at bold in 2020. Okay. Let's say these are people I met at an open house, right? So all these people I met at an open house, great. Now I can go ahead and highlight all of them and I can send them all a quick email individually. Now, their name won't be up there because it's going to go BCC. It's a blind carbon copy. But I'm like, I'll put in subject line 1234 Main Street just went into escrow. And then you'll enter the email.
Oh, so
Hey,
that
Deborah, I met you in an open house last week. Just to let you know that house we met at went into pending. But I have other houses.
so that's interesting. So with each, that's very cool. So with each open house that you do, you'd make a tag for that address.
Mhm. Because you
Oh,
want to be able to remember where you met
I
them at,
never
but you
thought of
also want
that.
to be able to direct target market them
Yeah,
once you've met them and put them into your database.
that's cool.
Yeah. And it's a way to lead generate with existing leads. Because remember the fortunes in the follow-up?
Yeah.
And it's the follow-up where agents suck at. Sorry, they do. They suck. We're humans. We're horrible at it. People say open houses don't work. I'm like, yeah, they do if you work them and you follow up the people you met there because most of the people you'll convert will be after the open house 2, 3, 4, 6 months afterwards. You're rarely going to find somebody that's ready to come in and say, I want to buy this house today. That's not the point of the open house. The point of the open house is a marketing system for you.
Yeah, no, but it's good information because I've always looked at tags as agents, bolds, a farm area, holiday cards, this, that, and the other thing. I've never
The
actually
same
thought to
thing.
make a, I know, but I've never actually thought to make an individual tag for each open house that I do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
that's
you want
very
to
cool.
categorize, let's say you had because then they feel like 6 months later,
Sure.
you've reached out to them, you still remember them. They're like, oh, she is different than most agents. She actually remembers us,
Yeah,
even though you have no clue who they are.
who the heck they are, right? No, that's good.
All right. All right. Any other questions? I hope you guys got something out of this today. All right. All right. Then that's it. Everybody have a great day.